That's more like it. Boston Celtics dominate the Chicago Bulls behind Jayson Tatum and an historic triple-double. Talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising business, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you every Monday through Friday, plus days like this, bonus Sunday podcast, because the Celtics played on a Saturday night, so when they play on a Friday or a Saturday, you'll get extra podcasts. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, watch the show on YouTube, get into that comment section, and let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. I'm John Karalis. I've been covering the Boston Celtics for about 20 years. I'm doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. So make sure you're reading my stuff there. Boston Celtics get the dominant 123-98 win over the Bulls. I did not want to call this a revenge game. The Celtics were not getting revenge on the Chicago Bulls because the Celtics played like crap on Thursday, and they kind of got what they deserved. They didn't have their heads on straight. They didn't defend well. And yeah, you lose to a team like Chicago when all of that stuff happens. So this wasn't revenge. This wasn't like, oh, we got to get them back for what they did to us. This was bounce back. This was, all right, get your heads back together, get yourselves back together and put together an effort that is more indicative of the Boston Celtics. So they did that for, I would say, at least the second half. And we'll put it this way. The second half was more complete. The first half, the offense looked better. The defense was still not great. Thought the first half, the point of attack defense was off. They were allowing penetration. They had to help a lot, put themselves in rotation. And we saw the Bulls get kind of any shot they wanted. They were getting a lot of open shots, and they were hanging around with the Celtics. It wasn't until Jayson Tatum started taking over, and he had a big, I want to say 13-point second quarter. Look at all my box scores over here. 13-point second quarter for Jayson Tatum on 5 of 8 shooting. That was the beginning of the Celtics turning things around. But just to be clear, like that first half defense was not great. The first half, the Celtics gave up 40% shooting, 36% shooting from three. The first quarter, they gave up 6 of 13 from three. So the Celtics were putting themselves in position. Like they just weren't defending extraordinarily well in the first quarter, especially. Second half, they turned things around. They did a great job limiting Zach LaVine, which I talk about. Well, you know what the hell? I'll talk about it now. It's on my little rundown over here at the. I can point in that direction, right? On my YouTube page, have a rundown on the YouTube page. If you listen on audio, you don't care, but if you're watching, I get a little rundown here, and I try to put it in order of what I think I'm going to talk about. Sometimes I go out of order. They limited Zach LaVine nicely. 4 of 11 shooting, 14 points, 4 of 5 from three, though. That's the important thing. He took 11 threes against the Celtics on Thursday in that loss. He's averaging 7.5, 8 3-pointers a game overall. So to limit him to 5 on a night where he was hitting, he was 4 of 5, right? 80% shooting. To limit him to only 5, that's a big accomplishment defensively. So I thought they did a really good job there until Tatum could do what he did. Now, they were attacking the rim early. I want to say this before I get into the Tatum stuff. There's a lot of talk about, I think, a lot of reaction to this game as the Celtics oh, they adjusted their style. They didn't shoot the threes. They were attacking the rim. They adjusted their game and did this. And I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I don't think the Celtics necessarily adjusted their game, right? Like, think about this. Every time we talk about three-pointers with Joe Mazzulla, he keeps saying, we never tell them to take this many threes. We tell them to make the right read and make the right play. And they are the importance of the three is emphasized. The value of the three is emphasized. We want them to take open shots and the best shots, but we don't say you have to take 53s. So when they attack the rim, they aren't saying like, okay, guys, we usually shoot a bunch of threes, but today, because it's the Chicago Bulls, they don't protect the rim well. Let's attack the rim. No. What happens is the Celtics should be driving, and they do drive. Not as much as other teams, but they do drive. And the whole point of the Celtics is drive and kick. They drive and kick, and they generate 10 and a half, almost 11 corner three-pointers per game. Okay, they're fourth in the NBA in generating corner three-pointers. And that whole thing is almost all of them are drive, draw the defense, kick it out, open shot. Every once in a while it's in transition, it's a kick ahead, and that's the open shot. But generally speaking, drive, kick. When you drive, Joe Mazzulla emphasizes rim reads. Rim reads are, we've talked about it, very simple. If you don't know what a rim read is, you get to the rim and then you read the defense. And it's got to be quick, but you got to be right on point. And this is why sometimes the Celtics look like they're passing out of layups because they see somebody coming up to challenge them, and maybe they still could have gotten the layup, but they see someone come up to challenge them, and so they get rid of it, right? This is the general, when you drive against a team that is decent at protecting the rim, somebody's going to step up and you kick it. The Celtics still ran their same offense. They didn't run different offense. They didn't sit there and be like, okay, concerted effort to attack. They just attacked. And sometimes against a better defense, that results in a kick. Against this particular defense, it just resulted in getting all the way to the rim. So I'm going to push back here on saying the Celtics adjusted their style. If anybody is saying that, I disagree. I think what the Celtics did on Thursday was more adjusting their style because they were hunting three-pointers. And it's funny because it looks like the way the Celtics always want to play, but that's not how the Celtics should be playing. And it's not really what their offense is. That Thursday night game is, okay, we want to take a bunch of threes. They're taking a bunch of threes. We've got to match the three-point shots. And they get out of their rhythm. Now, that's not exactly why they lost, but they should have been going to the rim a lot more and taking advantage of what was there and then getting back and defending. They didn't do any of that stuff. They didn't defend well at all on Thursday. And like I said, their heads weren't quite there. Their heads were more there in this game. The attacking was more, this was more Celtics basketball. This is the Celtics basketball that we're used to. It's just the drives were there. The kicks weren't necessarily. The Celtics took, and the Celtics still took 45 three-pointers, but the way they attacked, I don't want to say it was out of character. The shot chart looks different than it usually does, but that's just taking what the defense gives you. So that's that. I thought the Celtics did a great job. Points in the paint, 60 points in the paint, 30 of 44, 32 of those 44 shots were at the rim. The Bulls only got 38 points in the paint. So the Celtics did a good job there. They won the math battle. They put up, it was much more even. They put up one more shot, 3 more three-pointers. They hit 2 more free throws, took 3 more. They had 6 more offensive rebounds. They had, 1 fewer assists, 12 turnovers, although they did give up 20 points off those turnovers. Points in the paint they won. Second chance points they won. they lost the fast break points because the Bulls are a fast team. But the Celtics, talk about the margins, and that the Celtics won a lot of those margins. They won a lot of the math, and it worked out for them. Jaylen Brown, just wanted, before I get into Jayson Tatum, just Jaylen Brown looked a lot better in this game. I thought he looked more focused, just more like Jaylen Brown. He ended up probably taking a little bit of a back seat, although he did take 20 shots. A nice like 8 assists, 5 rebound game, 9 of 20. I love those 9 of 20 games because it's like, wow, man, he didn't shoot well. He hit one more, and it's a 50% game. But I thought Jaylen looked good, but Jayson Tatum looked amazing, right? Obviously, Jayson is the story of this game. So of course I wait 10 minutes into this podcast to talk about Jayson Tatum. But Jayson, very, very much part of this Celtics offense, the same thing. He looked like he let the game come to him. First quarter belonged to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen had 9 points in the first quarter, 4 of 10. He had I think he had a steal. Was it in the first quarter or was that in the second quarter? With the dunk. Maybe that was the second quarter. But he had 15. Jaylen had 15 points in the first half. And looked good, and Tatum just kind of let the game come to him. Didn't force 3-pointers. He attacked. He was in the post. He got Kobe White in the post and had a nice play there. A dunk and one. Should have been an and one, but it wasn't. Really worked in the first half to get a bunch of assists. Let's see. He had 5 assists in the second quarter. First half was 16 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, that's a hell of a game. 16 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. How about his third quarter? 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. His first half was a good game. His third quarter was a good game. It all adds up to 43 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists. No Celtic has ever put up a stat line of 43, 16, and 10. No one has had a 40 plus, 15 plus rebounds, 10 assists game. Nobody. Not Larry Bird. Nobody. So Tatum, again, doing something that no one has done in Celtics history or in that Larry Bird era. By the time it's all said and done with Tatum, it's going to be, we're going to be talking about the next generation of Celtics trying to catch up to Jayson Tatum. Jason's catching up to Larry Bird in a lot of these things. But, the 3-pointer benefits a lot of it, but still, he had to go in there and still, score all those points. He has to work to, he shot 9 of 15. But the 9 3-pointers, most of those came after he had been attacking the rim. I was really, really impressed with how Tatum attacked, just like everybody else on the team. He wasn't forcing anything. It really didn't look like Tatum was chasing any kind of stats. He just, whatever the game, like, this is what the game kind of demanded. Like, the game opened up for him. And I got to give Brian Scalabrine credit. He said it. He was saying it in the first quarter. He's like, this is the type of game where Jayson Tatum should dominate. Like, he just kind of had a feel. He understood that the way Chicago was defending, this was all set up perfectly for Jayson Tatum. And I was sitting there like, kind of like, okay, Scal, I mean, if you say so. I don't know what you're talking about, but go ahead. That's why he's an NBA player. And that's why I'm sitting here doing a podcast. But yeah, Scal called it early. And Tatum, he was 100% right. Tatum just did everything. He did everything. Now, Kristaps Porzingis will tell you that he stole a few rebounds, which is funny because Porzingis, he said, I'm the only guy in the league who needs to get 12 rebounds so I can get a double-double. Porzingis, by the way, did play well, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. And he said after the game, I'm not quite there yet. All right. if not quite there yet, is 22.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. I will take it. But Tatum is the star of this game, and it shows, this is one of those, MVP level performances that he's not going to get the MVP, right? Because Nikola Jokic is having a godlike season, and Giannis Antetokounmpo is, having an incredible season. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's having an incredible season, and Tatum isn't going to match those numbers. He doesn't need to match those numbers, and he said so after the game. He said, "You know what? I'll read you the quote that he said in the locker room after the game. We have so many talented players that I'm probably not going to put up some of the same numbers as those other guys, and that's perfectly fine with me, especially with what we did in June last year. That's the main goal here, not for me to win MVP, but for us to play at a high level and compete for a championship year in and year out. If I accomplish that along the way, then that would be amazing, but the main goal is for everybody to feel involved and everybody to play a part in us doing something special." What a perfect quote. That's the exact quote you want to hear from your superstar player on a team as stacked as this, because you can't get in Jaylen Brown's way. And Jaylen has like some of this same stuff going on too, right? Jaylen can't try to take over too many games because he can't get into Tatum's way. They're both great players, and they both have to like sacrifice something. But by sacrificing something, they won a championship. And so you have to keep sacrificing because the proof is there. You did it last season. You won. This is the formula. You go do that. And this was a game for Jaylen to maybe take a little bit of a step back there in the third quarter. And this was Tatum's night. And, in Orlando, that could be Jaylen's night. And you just don't know. By the way, side note, Mo Wagner looks like he suffered a really nasty knee injury. Orlando is just decimated. No Franz Wagner, no Paolo Banchero. I think they've got a couple other guys hurt. Now Wagner could be, that looks serious. Orlando cannot catch a break. The Celtics play Orlando next. And that could be a Porzingis night. That could be a Derrick White night. Derrick White is in an incredible funk. I wrote this on Boston Sports Journal. Derrick White is in such a funk that he's about to start touring with George Clinton and Bootsy Collins. That's how much of a funk he's in. He is, he had one of the most inexplicable plays I've ever seen a good player make, where gorgeous ball movement, the ball whipped around, got into the right post. I might have been Porzingis, gets it to Derrick White, left block, right, not even left block, inside in the restricted area. And all he had to do is just go straight up, boop, just flip it right up off the backboard. Gorgeous play. Highlight, one of the highlights of the season. And he hesitated. He up faked. He is out of sorts. Derrick White is out of sorts. Something, he's going through it right now. I'll go back to, I was at practice earlier in the week. What was it? Tuesday, maybe? And he was missing shots, and he was really hard on himself. And uncharacteristic, I think, of Derrick White. Now, he's a competitive guy, emotional guy, I'm sure. But the way he was acting, I'm like, man, he is really being hard on himself right now. And I don't think he's shaking it, because he didn't look great on Thursday. He didn't look great in this game. He's overtly gesticulating, and it's clear that he's kind of going through it right now. Every player goes through funks, and I'm sure he's going to snap out of it because he's really good, and he's going to snap out of it at some point. But, man, does he need to snap out of it. Derrick White's numbers in this game: 8 points, 3 of 12 shooting, 0 of 6 from 3, 1 assist, 3 turnovers. He did have a block, though. So Jaylen played well. Porzingis played well. Tatum played amazing. Bench was okay. Nothing special out of any of these guys, although Al Horford in 25 minutes was a plus 21. Peyton Pritchard in 31, almost 32 minutes was a plus 31. He had a few offensive rebounds, which 2 of them on one possession, which Peyton Pritchard just finds his way in there for offensive rebounds. One of the most incredible offensive rebounding guards I've seen at 6'1". But Luke Cornett played okay. He got some early minutes. Maybe it was Luke Cornett that made that pass to Derrick White. Regardless, nice games, nice performances. Nothing like mind blowing out of the bench. Nothing mind blowing out of the top three guys there. But overall, I love the way they played in the second half. I loved Tatum's third quarter was just dominant. And I love the fact that he didn't dominate the ball. It was a dominating performance without dominating the ball, which is kind of like whenever Tatum has one of these games, this is kind of how it goes. So, no, is he going to be the MVP? No, because these other guys have much better numbers and all that stuff. But man, this is one of those games where you look at it and you go, this is why he's going to get some votes, because he's so capable of doing all of this. Overall, great second half. We'll say great game. They win it by 25. Kind of nice to get this message out there. Like, all right, this was great that you had, feel good about this, Chicago. This wasn't going to become the Chicago is this year's, mediocre team that's a thorn in a good team side. No, we're just going to dismiss that right now, wipe our hands of this, and move on. Like I said, Orlando's next on Monday. And then I think that brings us to the Christmas Day game. And I will be there on the Christmas Day game. Let me just double check the schedule while I'm here, while I've got you here and we're talking about it. Orlando, yep, Monday. Then Tuesday is the Christmas Eve. Wow, Tuesday's Christmas Eve already. Whew. And then Philly on Christmas Day at 5:00. That'll be a fun one, especially now that Joel Embiid is back from his broken face. So I will be here, and hopefully I will be podcasting from the Garden, a little Christmas night podcast from the Garden, if possible. I don't know if they're going to be turning the arena over or not, but I will have a podcast for you all week. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Share your thoughts. Let me know what you think about all of these performances. And then I would love it. Give me the gift this Christmas of sharing the podcast and telling your friends, telling everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.